The other day I dropped something. I said, "Oh shit," and she looked me dead in the eye, like dead ass, and she goes like, "Shit." I was like, "Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that."
All right. Well, we are now officially recording.
All right.
I don't know what
I
to do for
record.
this intro, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nice skins and naysayers, as if Sporty once said, this is the Rated B podcast. uh, this is a podcast that's just laid back, talking about wrestling, gaming, sometimes some sports stuff, whatever the heck we want to. Keeping it PG for the next 10 seconds because you can't swear in the first, I think, 8 seconds or you get demonetized instantly. So we got to practice that. We're going to keep it going. I am Desmond Brown, one of the hosts here, resident game journalist, trained game journalist, by the way, and also trying to get into wrestling media. Joined as always, I'm gonna take it off. Whoever wants to speak next, I don't know. You guys introduce yourselves. I ain't, you your own bosses.
Muted
Good.
before age.
You said youth before age.
Youth before age.
That means Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bennett, you first.
Uh, yeah, my name is Anthony. I'm just sort of kind of getting my feet wet back into this media stuff. I would love to do something sports media related. But this has been a podcast. It's been a long time in the making. Um, few years. Glad we're back. Let's start this thing off right.
I'm Carlton, aka Sport. I don't know what they're gonna call me on the show. I got a lot of other nicknames. Um, we've been doing this off and on for 5 years. Let's make this one the one that sticks. I'm excited for it. And today, guys, today we're doing something I've been planning for years. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing today. We might have to have a part two, a part three. But we are going to determine the greatest professional wrestler of all time. All time.
Well, at least get through some of the bracket.
Well, at least get some of. So the bracket's divided into 4 spots. What were I gotta check the divisions that we made. So we have the classic WWE conference, the International Superstars Conference, the more successful outside of WWE conference. And the last one is the Modern Greats Conference. We broke it into four selections, just like March Madness. That's where we got the idea from. Actually, we got the idea from a few things. March Madness being one of them. The New Day podcast. Rest in peace, the New Day podcast. Shout out Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E Langston. Inspirations to us all. We're gonna be doing that later. But first, I think Desmond wanted to go over a couple of current events in the world, in the wacky world of pro wrestling. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
There are a couple of things going on right now. I know for one, there's been something going on with some over on AEW side of things. Some people showing up. You know, we got the what was it, Okada, Mercedes, and now or Mercedes is the latest one, and then we had Osprey to start it off.
Yes, sir.
Now, for me, like, there's obviously going to be discourse online talking about are these guys draws? Are they going to make a difference in AEW? I think they're going to make a difference in AEW, but I don't know if it's going to be to the same impact as CM Punk did. I think there's going to be a lot of work that they have to build up on their own to drive that equity into AEW in the same way that Punk did, because Punk was an established WWE champion, all that. You got Okada, who is very new to the casual North American audience, and then you have same thing with Osprey, and then you
Yeah, I was
have
gonna say Osprey's pretty much in that same boat.
Yeah.
and unless you watched Revolution, did he have a? I forget. I didn't see if he had a match on Dynamite yet or not.
He had a
Yeah,
match on Dynamite.
Okay,
yeah,
that was
he
against Kyle Fletcher.
Yes, and it was fantastic. You should go back. It's one of those matches that you're going to want to go back and watch later. It wasn't like a instant classic though.
Okay, because I was just my question is now with these new additions, you have probably the greatest roster in all of professional wrestling ever.
mm, mm,
Where do we go from here? The stories are starting to be put forward. You got Okada and I think it's Okada versus Kingston and Pac, and then you have something with Kenny whenever he comes back. Mercedes is going after Willow, and then also going after it looks like Julia Hart and all of that, and then Will's got
I mean, she's
uh,
making
Danielson.
too. So
You said what? I'm sorry.
Mercedes is making slight shots at Britt Baker as well. So I don't think any. I think pretty much. I think a lot of people is on her radar.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm old enough to remember when Kurt Angle showed up at TNA.
So I am too. I still remember that vividly.
Okay, so remember for about 6 weeks there, the show might as well have been called Total Nonstop Angle
Right.
because Angle had beef with everybody. He had beef with AJ. He had beef with Joe. He had beef with Sting. He had beef with Kevin Nash. He had beef with everybody. He came into the show and he literally feuded with every single wrestler on that show. That's what Mercedes should do. Women's division in AEW, let's be honest. I love AEW. Y'all are going to watch, you're going to think I'm an AEW show in a couple of months if you watch consistently. Huge fan of the product. The women's division in AEW is terrible. It's booty cheeks. Like, it's hog water.
Oh no!
They need to.
Don't let Brett hear you say that.
And it's not the wrestler's fault. It's not.
Yeah.
It's two things. One, it's been booking. I'm going to say Tony Khan, as great as he is at booking individual matches, booking storylines is not his forte. Where I would say he's much better at booking an individual match than, say, Triple H. But Triple H is better, his league's better at storylines than Tony Khan, comparing the two shows. And the women's division suffers for it more. So, because they don't have, up until this past summer, they did not have the depth needed in that women's division to just put on banger matches after banger matches. Julia Hart's one of my favorite wrestlers right now. A year ago, she could not put on a banger.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, she's grown a lot over this last year.
Incredibly. But they don't have so on top of that, they're the most competitive roster of all time. The men's roster, we were talking about this in our text conversation the other day. The men's roster in AEW is so competitive that I think I put a list together of 30 wrestlers on the AEW roster that could all be in the main event right now. And nobody would say, oh, that guy shouldn't be in the main event. You know how deep the men's roster is? Miro hasn't been on the show in 6 weeks. And ain't nobody thought about Miro until his wife left him. Keith Lee ain't been on the show in 8 weeks. And ain't nobody thinking about Keith Lee.
I mean, man, like
which is crazy that you kind of think about that. I mean, I me personally, like I'm gonna kind of revert back to what you said as before. I think the type of impact that a wrestler could have, the same type, like like a CM Punk or like what Angle did in TNA, those two people themselves were established with a completely global fan base before they had even ever stepped foot in another promotion, which that's kind of like the same thing, even like that I'm like kind of noticing now. Like TNA is more so like when TNA did that, when they brought over Hogan and they brought over Angle and all of these random WWE guys that you know what I mean, you hadn't seen in quite some time, it kind of generated a buzz with them, right? It
Yeah.
brought more eyes to that product. And it's the same thing with AEW, but AEW is looking at it from a more outside perspective. They're bringing in big stars from areas that North American people don't really watch because let's be real, who's working the normal 9 to 5 and it has the time to sit up and watch a 3 a.m. New Japan show. You're not doing that.
You're not,
So it's
bro.
like a
I'm
lot.
watching G1 this past year.
So it's like unless you're either you're a diehard fan of wrestling, you know what I mean, or you just respect other wrestlers in other countries, which you know what I mean is commendable both ways. They're not really gonna garner the same type of impact that let's say an Angle or a CM Punk would have. When CM Punk showed up to AEW, CM Punk was out of wrestling entirely for 8 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought that he would ever show back up or even show his face, let alone in AEW. So when you know what I mean, of course, and you do it in a hotbed like Chicago. Chicago, that's his hometown. So of course, even if and I think if CM didn't show up that day, I think that place would have probably went nuclear. Like it would have been like, what the heck? Like you know what I mean? You led us astray. Like what the heck? But the thing is, too, is Tony Khan has a lot of money. So a lot of these wrestlers that are coming in, they're looking for big bucks. WWE looks at it from a revenue spot where it has to make sense for them. And
Yeah.
AEW is allowing these wrestlers to go ahead and do other things and venture out other places. WWE is starting to do that now a little bit, like we see now, even like with Shayna Baszler and some of the like they're doing Bloodsport and stuff now.
And there's supposed to be
But
more people.
and there's supposed to be more people.
I
But
don't know if there's going to be more people. I think Shayna Baszler is a very specific circumstance, and I'll
No,
go into that.
they've already said
yeah,
that there's
yeah,
going to be more people going into Bloodsport. Like the guys running Bloodsport's teased that there's going to be more stars coming in.
I think more stars. I don't know if it's going to be more WWE.
Oh no, they specifically set WWE stars.
They did.
Yeah, there's supposed to be
Okay.
more. There's supposed to be more. Like I think, if I had to guess,
Then why is Chad Gable not announced?
because Chad Gable's
Put
probably
that
got
man in
something going on at
Bloodsport.
WrestleMania. He's probably got
He
something
ain't
going
doing
on at
nothing.
WrestleMania.
He's not going to WrestleMania right now. He lost.
We don't know that. We got 3 weeks until Mania. He could be a triple threat with Gunther and Sami Zayn.
Oh, I got beef with you. For a whole different argument we had weeks ago about a triple threat.
That's because the triple threat. Okay, you know what? I understand. I don't think it should be a triple threat at Mania. I don't think it'd be a triple threat at Mania with those three. But
Ladies and
make a
gentlemen,
go.
for those of you that don't know, me and Desmond get heated. Like even our Twitter feeds, if you follow us enough, we be getting heated about wrestling. Heated.
This Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes storyline has
It has
tested has tested our brotherhood.
It's tested our brotherhood in a way. And Anthony just be, and I know it's bad. You know how you know when we go too far, because Anthony don't even respond to the text no more.
Oh yeah, he's just watching this whole thing go
He's
on. He
like,
can't even police it.
he'd be like, "It's 7 in the morning. Why are they arguing?"
literally, I'm like sleep or something, or I'm out and about, and my phone is just like, I'm like, what the hell are they going on about? Yeah, having to look at my phone, and then I see there's 70 minutes or 70 text messages. I'm like, bro, what are y'all talking about in a short span of 10 minutes that it caused y'all to have 70 unread text messages in between you two both? Then I look in and each one of you guys are sending like 15 text messages a piece.
Look,
each like 8 paragraphs long. I'm not reading.
We're both professional writers. We both have degrees in English and literature and journalism. And so sometimes a little 15-word text message don't get the word across.
Sometimes, look.
Oh, trust me, I know. I know.
The thing is, this is all creative. These are all creative discussions. It's nothing at all about like, just fanboying or anything like that.
It's just anger over wrestling. Yeah, and sometimes Pittsburgh Steelers football.
Yeah, which we'll get to if maybe a little bit.
Let's triple threat. Ain't happening.
It ain't happening. But
it ain't happening. You put Chad Gate. In fact, you know who should really do Bloodsport? Really should be Charlie Dempsey.
He is, yeah. It will look good. He did it with AJ. What was it? All Japan.
Yeah, I mean, like Charlie Dempsey is not, and I hate to say this, he's not a WWE guy. He's not. You can tell. He's going to go other places in his career.
I feel like he is, and I also feel like Triple H and William Regal know that. I get the feeling like you guys forget sometimes that NXT was supposed to, the whole thing with TakeOver, it was supposed to be a global thing.
Yeah.
So like it's inevitable to me that WWE, especially with Triple H at the helm, is going to be going to Japan, going to going into the UK, the Indies. Like, I wouldn't put it past them, like, especially with how they're presenting Obafemi right now on NXT. I would not put it past them to go into Nigeria, which is a big place for, that's a big supporter of pro wrestling.
Omos and Obafemi in Nigeria would be so over.
I mean, you also have Apollo Crews.
Africa in general is, as we know, is one of the largest continents in the world. Even if they're not from Nigeria, if you happen to have an event in Africa, whoever is in that entire realm is over. Like that's how impactful that place would be. But if you have an Obafemi or Omos or any, what? If they're not champion, that place is burning to the ground.
Here's a Nigeria match for you. Obafemi versus the Great Power Udi. Y'all don't know history. He didn't make our list of greatest pro wrestlers of all time. Great Power Udi is Nigerian pro wrestling's Hulk Hogan. No joke.
It sounds familiar.
I know, that's what I'm trying to like see if I can remember like the picture of face, because it does sound familiar. I don't know.
So if you listen to the Art of Wrestling podcast, episode 59 with Cliff Compton, he talks about Cliff Compton was Domino in the WWE. He talks about his absolute worst time wrestling ever. With him, Luke Gallows, and a referee and another indie wrestler all got trapped in Nigeria with the Great Power Udi. And he still owes them money to this day. Great Power Udi. If you're Hulk Hogan, by the way, if you get a comparison to Hulk Hogan, you're famous and you're a shyster.
I advise we not say that name if we don't want to get demonetized. Because I'm like biting my tongue from saying those famous words that we always like to say when his name is brought up.
Oh no, we're about 20 minutes in. You can let it fly, brother.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan. All right, now let's speaking of that, the first conference in the tournament. Let's just move on. because it's going to take a minute because we're going to have some arguments, is the classic WWE conference.
Okay.
Let me pull up the bracket. Talk about what. Let's get into it because I feel like we gotta have we gotta have some conversation. So again, we're talking about impact, talking about gimmick, talking about the overall package. Hold on. I'm looking. I done made so many versions of this bracket. I was gonna go with the most recent one I sent y'all. So the classic bracket. That's our first conference. And before we begin, I also want to talk about honorable mentions real quick because I got the honorable mentions up. So honorable mentions. These are people that did not make it. We had I went through maybe 400 different wrestlers talking about who's the greatest of all time from all over the world, every era. Abraham Lincoln was even considered at one point.
Good God.
All right. So honorable mentions that these are the people that were closest to making it but didn't make it. And if you hear your name if you don't hear your favorite wrestler's name in this tournament across the arguments, understand that they were considered. All right. So Akira Tao, Chris Hero, Claudio Castagnoli, Jerry Lynn, Sergeant Slaughter, Lou Thez, Larry Zbyszko, Pedro Morales, Bob Backlund, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Jumbo Saruta, Tiger Mask, all the Tiger Masks, all of them. Everybody named Tiger Mask was considered. Sabu, the Iron Sheik. Sheiky Baby didn't make it. Superstar Billy Graham.
How dare you sport you jabroni?
When I get to heaven, he gonna break my back and make me humble for this. Next
Yeah.
time we do the greatest wrestler of all time, he'll probably make it.
Don't hit you with that jabroni.
All right. Mr. Perfect. Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. Dick Beyer, who's right here from Buffalo, New York. I'm from Buffalo. They're from Pittsburgh. He didn't make it. Killer Kowalski, trained Triple H. He didn't make it. Tatsumi Fujinami. He didn't make it. Gory Guerrero. Dr. Wagner Jr. La Parca. Mil Mascaras. And El Hijo del Santo. And Ron Simmons didn't make it. That was a lot of people. And Ron Simmons, we was close.
Yeah, that was a last minute decision that we almost considered.
We almost added him back to it. But it came down to just length of time that would have been needed.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron Simmons being added and a couple other names that I consider being added made the whole thing we're doing 80-person tournament. Like, it's not a small tournament. So here we go. First round, first matchup. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
So here's the rules. If you have any personal arguments, you argue for it. At the end, we take a vote when all arguments have been made. All arguments are done. You can argue back and forth with each other. All right, you might argue back and forth with me for a couple of these. First one, Hulk Hogan.
Boo.
Everybody knows Hulk Hogan. Ran the 80s. Possibly the most influential pro wrestler of his era. Definitely influenced the WWE pattern of having one-star run and era. Leader of the NWO. Hulk Hogan. Everybody knows him. Everybody has an opinion on him. Versus The Undertaker. Possibly the greatest wrestler of all time. Well, everybody on this list is possibly the greatest wrestler of all time. That's what we're trying to determine. Had the greatest WrestleMania streak ever. Longevity. Possibly the greatest character wrestler of all time is The Undertaker. Kept one gimmick for over 30 years. Kept it fresh. Rarely did you say The Undertaker gimmick was stale. Because even when it got
made slight adjustments to it too on occasion, which was also nice.
Made adjustments. Let's call it out. I mean, for a generation of fans, American Badass Undertaker is their Undertaker.
Yep.
Right.
That's who I was first introduced to.
Yeah, that's just the same. It was the same. It was the same for me. I know for just like real quick. I know when I remember like when I first started watching wrestling. Like my very first show was No Way Out 2005 at the Mellon Arena,
So
and this was
American Badass.
yeah. And I remember like when the first time I seen him, he was American Badass, like going into like a feud with Cena and all these other things. But I lie to you not, the very first time that I seen him with the actual Undertaker gimmick scared the shit out of me. I was like, I don't know who is this? Like, who is that? And that was just the type of character that it was. But then after a while, it grew on me. You know what I mean? But to do something like that for 30 plus years that's tough to beat. That is very, 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 very tough to beat. Tough to beat.
Very tough to beat. I mean, Hulk Hogan also had a 30-plus year career. I'm gonna be honest with you though. I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna tell you why I'm voting the way I'm voting, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm not voting the way I'm voting. My vote's gonna be for the Undertaker. I don't care what y'all vote is. My vote is Undertaker. So if Undertaker's the one who moves forward, that's what it is, right? I vote for the Undertaker because of one specific instance in my life. I was a Hulk Hogan fan. I was a Hulkamaniac. Growing up, I grew up. I was born in 1990, so I got to see good guy Hulk Hogan turn to NWO Hulk Hogan, turn back to good guy Hulk Hogan in my lifetime. The day of my father's wedding, when we were getting ready for the wedding, we were watching the WWE recap show. It was Hulk Hogan as Mr. America was going through the lie detector test.
Oh yeah.
I watched that. I watched that with all my uncle. Desmond was there. He was like 5 years old. I watched that with all my uncles and my dad, and we all were rooting for Hulk Hogan. Imagine this: 12 black men, beautiful, getting together to celebrate one man's wedding in our tuxedos, sitting down, watching Hulk Hogan, and everybody in the room was having an emotional reaction to Hulk Hogan.
Actually, I do remember that.
All right. It was one of the most impactful moments in my life, not just as a wrestling fan, but as a person. Because I haven't had that moment since. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what happens. Fast forward. Over a decade later. I go to Hot Topic. I buy a bright yellow Hulk Still Rules t-shirt. Literally, buy the shirt. I've got it. I don't even wait to leave the mall. I'm so excited because I haven't had a Hulk Hogan t-shirt since I was a kid. I put that Hulk Still Rules t-shirt on, and I walked out, and I did my whole shopping. I get home, and I get a text message. And and it says, "Hey, have you heard about Hulk Hogan?" I was like, "Did Hulk Hogan die?" I got scared. I was afraid for my life. And the text message said, "No, you're gonna wish he did." And they sent me the link. And Hulk Hogan said he was a racist. And I had my Hulk Still Rules t-shirt on. And I took it off. And I threw it out.
What you should have did, you should have just went like.
Should have just did some Hulk Hogan. I just took it off and threw it out.
I will never.
$30 on that damn shirt. Didn't even get 24 hours out of the shirt. I was so mad.
I know you were mad. Just by the way, I'm voting for Undertaker too, because to continue that story, beside the fact that Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time, I'll never forget sitting there and hearing, or sitting there. I was getting my blood drawn. I was giving blood, and I get a text message, and it's from Sport, and he's saying, "You got to read this article." I'll never forget it. Sitting there, and I have nowhere else to go, and you could see all the nurses looking at me, visibly concerned, because my face just drops, because I was just sitting there thinking to myself, man, Hulk Hogan, what a great guy. What a great, swell dude. And then I read that this man is afraid that he's gonna die and reincarnate to be a black man. I don't know how I was gonna take that. I really don't know what to feel in that moment, other than I was just so angry for no real reason, other than it's like don't ever meet your heroes, you know.
I was just going to say that is the perfect example of when your idols become your rivals.
I don't think you guys understand how mad I actually was.
Like now you're literally my enemy. Like I hate you with every fiber in my being for
so
we
all agree Undertaker moves on.
100%.
He moves on regardless, even without that personal bias.
Yeah.
He was moving on by virtue of his character, his body of work, arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
Arguably multiple of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
We got greatest WrestleMania streak.
Best Hell in a Cell matches of all time. The two best Hell in a Cell matches. The first one, and then the end of an era.
Yep.
Best Hell in a Cell matches ever. Both of them Undertaker.
Is he still currently the only wrestler I think to win 20 plus WrestleMania matches? Am I correct?
Correct. Yes. Easily.
The only one that
there's only a few that have even had 20 WrestleMania matches.
Right.
I think the only one that's close is John Cena.
Yeah, that's another one that I was thinking about, because I was like, it could, if anybody was close, it would have been Cena. But
what about Orton?
Orton's had a bunch of years where he was injured for WrestleMania.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next matchup. The next one's a lot harder for us. Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want a peanut? Great. Possibly, he's the standard of big men.
Yeah.
Right.
If there was no Andre, there's no Big Show. There's no Braun Strowman. It's no Undertaker. Yeah.
So so we're talking about the standard for what the big man is. Even all these years, 40 years later, we're still talking about Andre the Giant versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Don't do this to me. Don't you do this to me. Don't you do this to me.
It's a hard tournament. Told you it's hard. It's going to take some time.
Don't you do this to me.
That's why we're only doing one bracket.
Stone Cold is my favorite wrestler of all time. Do not do this to me.
Okay, because now you got to argue, is Stone Cold better is Stone Cold. I'm not gonna say is he a better wrestler, because I think Stone Cold in the ring was a better wrestler than Andre.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I'll say. This is what I'll say. I think Andre, in terms of who he was very, very influential for tons of other wrestlers that we see now. It's almost like a Andre walked so the other ones could run type of ordeal, right?
Yep.
Very, very respected, very, very revered for his size, the amount of time that he did wrestle, which you can't push away that for a guy of that stature, that size. He is a champion. Won multiple championships, I believe. The thing with Stone Cold is what I will say with Stone Cold is Stone Cold in a very, very down time of WWE kind of helped elevate WWE to what we know it is today. And I think even still with regards to that, that's a very, very tough thing to do. Because at one point, Steve had no gimmick. The gimmick that he had was horrible.
Yeah, wasn't he the ringmaster?
The ringmaster. And there was no other, I mean, and of course at that time, you know what I mean, there wasn't really too many captivating or any type of I guess any type of like gimmicks that could make you be like, I want to see what this person does every single week. He's the reason why I tune in. And I think once Stone Cold had that first promo, the Austin 316, and that set everything off. And then to be able to do what he did, you know what I mean, main event multiple WrestleManias, lead a company into usher a company into a brand new era.
Yeah.
I think that is for what WWE was kind of at that point, because like, let's be real, WWE was at a really, really bad point at that point in time. Even the same thing, even with The Rock. You know what I mean? The Rock came in when he was Rocky Maivia, and Rocky, that gimmick was horrible. And nobody really cared about that. But once Rock joined the Nation of Domination, it was ball game. You know what I mean? And that was the same thing, I think, even with Steve Austin, where it's like once he developed that gimmick, it was ball game. I think I'm gonna have to say Steve Austin, because it was leading him, ushering a new era in the WWE, especially for the Attitude Era and stuff like that. Like that was he was the apple of the eye. You know what I mean? Like that was him. You can't think about Attitude Era without saying Steve Austin. So that's I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say Steve Austin.
Desmond, who's your vote? Because I voted Andre.
I'm gonna have to say Austin too. He brought up the same point that I was gonna say. He introduced the Attitude Era. You know, like it wasn't by himself, but everybody really, like, for a lot of people, like, you know, obviously not for me and Anthony, because we were literally like one when that all was happening. But anyone will tell you that moment when the Attitude Era really kicked off was when that John 316 promo happened. And I feel like, you know, if you want to talk about influential, as much as Andre has done for big men, and I feel like Andre was the coming of what we got with some of our favorite wrestlers today. But at the same time, I feel like there's other big men that did it after Andre that have pushed the envelope just a little bit more than how Stone Cold, and that doesn't trump what Stone Cold, I think, has done for the industry and still continues to do for the industry, because we're sitting there thinking about what would happen if Stone Cold and CM Punk finally faced off for WrestleMania. You know?
All right. So next matchup. So Stone Cold advances. That was some cold shit. I took out Andre the Giant in the first round. And
that was a tough battle, and that was me not holding any bias. Like I just genuinely believe that's just how I Mm.
This
Who's
next one,
next?
ooh, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier. There's not an easy one on this top on the classic bracket. All right, everybody in the classic bracket has a legit art claim to being the greatest wrestler of all time. And this next one is Shawn Michaels,
Oh
the
God.
Heartbreak Kid,
Okay.
Who you got him up
Mr.
against?
WrestleMania,
Okay.
versus Jake the Snake Roberts.
Ooh.
Really, it's not even a battle of the super kick versus the DDT. This is a what move, what wrestler, what style. Jake the Snake, best villain in the 80s, best villain in the 90s, in the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
best of his generation.
Mm-hmm.
Had a damn snake. He had a damn snake biting people.
Bro, I remember he had who was it when he had the snake bite Macho Man.
Yeah.
And they start panning to the crowd, and there's people like crying their eyes out. Like crying their eyes out.
I mean,
I
didn't you?
was like,
You
this
just saw
man is
a grown
sick,
man just get bit by a giant python.
bruh. Yeah, they're
That's what WWE.
panning to these kids, and these kids are crying like their parents just died right in front of them. Like, I mean, coughing, not running down their nose, the whole nine.
Arguably greatest villain in wrestling of all time.
Yes.
Arguably.
Not necessarily heel, but villain.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, yes.
Arguably, I got another choice in the classic bracket for greatest villain of all time too. But
You know, Shawn Michaels, man. He's done a lot for the business. Like, he gave us the super kick, which may or may not have been a good or a bad thing, depending on who you ask. If you ask me, if the super kick didn't exist, the Young Bucks wouldn't exist, and I wouldn't really care. But
I agree.
but for as much as I can hate every super kick party that was ever created, Shawn Michaels, besides that, he's also had an influence over the new generation. He has worked pretty much hand in hand with Triple H in creating the next stars in WWE, especially with the new version of NXT that we got going on right now. I know none of you both watch, but especially with the women's division, man's is cooking.
what he's done with. So I'll say this: Shawn Michaels gets my vote, and here's why Shawn Michaels gets my vote. Tell me a better match than Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 2.
25 or 26?
26.
26?
26. 26 is my best match of all time.
I think I like 25 a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
25
you're not wrong.
25 was good. 25 I think
they're both fantastic.
Yeah, both were good.
I will never forget sitting there in my bedroom at WrestleMania 25 freaking out when when the Undertaker got hit with a tombstone.
Yeah, literally. Yep. I thought that was it. I was like, did he really just beat him with his own move? And when he kicked out, the audible like gasp of like elation. It was like, oh, like thank God. It's like, please do not let him at least lose the streak on the tombstone. That's crazy.
All right. Because I couldn't imagine Shawn Michaels retiring, and I could not imagine the streak ending. That's why 26 is my favorite. It was the least predictable match I've ever watched.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm voting Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I might have to go with Shawn Michaels too.
Yeah, I might have to go HBK on that.
I don't feel good about it.
I don't feel good about it either, because Jake the Snake is the reason why Waylon Mercy was a thing, and Waylon Mercy was a thing.
Yeah.
And then we got Bray Wyatt because of
And
Waylon Mercy.
DDT is the most influential move in professional wrestling.
I'm pretty sure it's like the default move that everybody learns.
Yeah, it's the default move.
I mean, like I mean, like I look at it from also to how I'm kind of viewing it is more so who had more, I guess, like meaningful, more impactful matches. I mean, because we can, and we can also go through. I mean, we can also go through many things too with Shawn Michaels. I mean, Shawn Michaels was one of the ones who started DX.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. DX was a thing that
5 times more.
right, and like I mean, as much as of an influence as Jake the Snake was, and I mean, I'm not knocking Jake at all. I mean, Jake, like we all agree, Jake was probably one of the best villains of the '80s and '90s. I mean, he's probably still to this day the only villain that I've ever seen make kids cry from a snake bite. I mean, like I will never get that out of my head. Like I remember one day I was like watching WWE Network and I was just like, I just got in one of those modes and I was just like, let me just go back and watch like some like late '80s, early '90s type like wrestling like shows. And I ran across the Macho Man and Jake the Snake match, and I'm like, and they literally start panning to the crowd, and these kids are bawling their eyes out, and I'm like, that's different. You know what I mean? Like that's different. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, but for just, I guess overall, just more influential, I guess, in a way. Like I said, not knocking Jake the Snake. It's definitely Shawn Michaels. There's just a lot of things that I can think of that Shawn did. Started a lot of stuff. DX was one of them, one of many. I mean, even the feud with Hulk Hogan, like, I mean, like the feud with Hulk Hogan had literally WWE in a stranglehold, like in a stranglehold. And I mean, and like they were in the heat of their feud when they came to Pittsburgh. I was so upset I couldn't I was so upset I couldn't see that in person. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm gonna go Mr. Showstopper.
All right. Speaking of showstopper, the headliner, Mr. WrestleMania. We're moving on. This one might be a little bit easier for us. Bret Hart versus the $1 Million Man.
Yeah, Bret Hart.
I mean, like I love the $1 Million Man. $1 Million Man, another one of those great villains of the '80s.
Yes,
but you got to give it to Bret.
100%.
Yeah, it's not even. You don't even need to.
I would never take Ted DiBiase over Bret Hart. Never.
As much as I love Ted DiBiase,
I'm sorry, Ted, but no.
I love Ted DiBiase. I think everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. I think that he was a fantastic villain. He drew the short straw when I had the thing make the bracket.
Yeah.
Because there are some matchups he definitely could have won in the first round, but Bret Hart was not it.
Yeah, definitely give me Bret. Bret moves on.
Bret moves on pretty easily. The next one.
No.
The next one's hard.
I got a kitten.
Uh-oh.
The next one's hard. I'll let you know. I'm warning you on this one.
Mine's running around somewhere. I think it might be in with Bailey.
We're wrapping up in like 10 minutes. I know.
Yeah, we'll get through the first round of the classics, and then we'll be wrapped.
Yeah.
Or we can do lightning through the rest of it because we've talked about who's who.
Yeah. Let's just lighten it.
Yeah, we can lightning through it.
So once we finish the first round, we'll lightning through.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the next one is Ric Flair versus Mick Foley.
Rick.
You say Rick?
You said Rick versus Mick Foley?
Yeah.
Rick.
Y'all say Ric Flair over Mick Foley?
It's tough.
There's no
I'll say
malice.
Ric Flair
There's no malice towards Mick. Mick, listen. Mick has done great things. Okay, but
Cactus
there's
Jack.
just, but Rick is Rick, man. You can't discredit the man. The
Okay,
man. You
so
gotta beat the man.
and we're talking about like let's like
I'm glad
okay,
you did it because I was saying Ric Flair too.
and like and like and like let's look and
I
like
was trying to fake outrage.
let's look at it. Let's look at it from a longevity standpoint. You know what I mean? Like Rick did that for
Rick did that
half
for
a
this year.
Yeah.
exactly.
Rick took a bump at the last AEW pay-per-view.
And Mick Foley is literally not able to walk normally.
Well, that's
Mick Foley falling off the damn Hell in a Cell.
yeah. Mick Foley just agreed to be thrown off whatever at whatever height did not matter.
Yeah.
He just wanted shock value.
Mick Foley
it
was
was gonna
Darby
catch
Allin
up to
before
him.
Darby Allin.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But you know what? The
But he was much
character.
better in character.
I will say Mick Foley's character. If we're gonna give someone else, if we're gonna give somebody like influence, this generation's Mick Foley, not for his three faces gimmick, but just for him as a person, is Sami Zayn.
I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll keep going.
What now? I'm curious. What makes you why you say Sami Zayn?
Just because he's nice.
No, well, think about it. Sami Zayn is not the atypical person that you think is going to be the face of the company. Neither is Mick. He's in that same vein as like a Bryan Danielson in that regard.
I would say that Sami Zayn's whole generation, him, Adam Cole, Kevin Owens, they're all Bryan Danielson, they're all that kind of. I even say the Young Bucks even. It's that same that it's the values that group of wrestlers have. You know, they came up together. They all got the same. They got the same storyline going a little bit. They've all been screwed over by different organizations. Moving on.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be hard. The Macho Man versus The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah, Rock.
It would have been harder 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it would have been so much harder 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Uncensored heel Rock. Uncensored heel Rock.
I honestly like I was not. I'm gonna be up front and honest. I was not the biggest Rock fan, like at all. And these past few weeks, this whole WrestleMania build up has like it's starting to change my mind. Like now I'm starting to be like, okay, you're starting to reel me in. You're reeling me in. And especially like
or Friday rather.
Yeah, Friday. Like
Friday when he ended the promo with "What can I say?"
Exactly. I was like,
yo. Anyways, just in the interest of time, moving on.
Let's go.
This next one's medium. Roddy Piper.
Oof.
Versus Kane.
Ooh.
This
no,
one's
sport.
I
already know who you're voting for.
You already know who I'm voting.
Yeah.
You already know who I'm voting.
I think I'm leaning sports side.
I might have to lean sports side too, because he had arguably the greatest debut of all time.
Greatest debut of all time. Second greatest character wrestler of all time, only behind The Undertaker.
Yeah, give me Kane. Yep.
20+ year career, same character. Changed it up. Electrocuted a man's testicles on the way. Can't say. What else can you say about Kane? The next one. The greatest hero in wrestling versus the greatest villain in wrestling.
Yeah.
Bruno Sammartino.
Oh no! Come on now!
Don't you do it now?
Don't you do
William
it?
Regal.
Oh, I knew it. There it is.
Bruno Sammartino versus William Regal.
Oh God.
Sport, I hate you right now.
I didn't do this. The computer did it.
I hate you and your computer.
William Regal versus Bruno Sammartino.
Oh God.
Man, the thing.
Give me Bruno. I'm going Bruno.
You going Bruno?
I'm going Bruno.
I'm going William Regal simply just because I'm not as much as I know how influential Bruno is. I'm not familiar with his work as much as I am with William Regal's work, and I'm still seeing his influence throughout the industry. So
I'm gonna go William Regal because one of my favorite matches of all time is William Regal versus Dean Ambrose in FCW.
I do remember that match.
There's a whole lot of reasons why I could pick William Regal and Bruno Sammartino. I think Bruno Sammartino gets his flowers. I think he is one of the greatest of all time, especially when you're talking about WWE champions. But CM Punk had a great promo. If CM Punk would have been champion during Bruno Sammartino's time, he would have had an 8-year reign too.
But see, I think like here's the thing too, like
Bruno
just real
Sammartino
quick.
was champion of New York City. He wasn't champion of the world.
Right. But here's the thing, like, and I think that's even the same thing even with basketball. Like basketball, you always hear who's the greatest. You hear Michael Jordan, you hear LeBron James. But then when you kind of creep into the positional side of things, like let's just say, for example, you hear center. You say who's the best centers, and then you would say some people would say Wilt Chamberlain, some people would say Shaq. Wilt Chamberlain is probably one of the most dominant centers to ever play the game, but because he played in a time era that wasn't. It's not like how the league is now. He's the only player to ever drop 100 points in a game.
Yeah.
The only player to ever get 60 rebounds in a game. Like these are types of things you've never heard of in the league now.
I need
But
to see that game.
Didn't see that game.
but like
There is no defense being played.
oh yeah, like 100%. But it's like you can't. It's like but you still can't knock it. I don't know. I don't know.
So you
Yeah.
vote Bruno, and we
Yeah.
voted, and we
Yeah,
voted.
I mean, it's gonna have to put William through.
No,
But
you
I
know
don't
what?
know.
You make a valid point because your argument is the exact same argument that me and Sport have had about Roman Reigns losing his record.
This whole time, because Roman Reigns is doing something that's never been done before.
But
All right, we got a lightning.
he's
Okay.
doing something. He's doing something that's never been done before. But he still keeps it. But I mean, you can't knock what he's doing. Will he break?
Yeah.
Will he break Bruno? No. Bruno had held the title for 8 years.
He ain't getting 8 years.
No.
He'll probably get 4.
No.
But hold on. So let's stay on topic because Roman Reigns is later in this tournament. He's on another day's recording.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna lightning round. Now that we've made our arguments for why we believe in each of these people.
Yep.
We're gonna lightning round the rest of the classic WWE conference bracket.
Okay.
All right. Unless you have a really passionate argument about why somebody should beat somebody else. But we're gonna lightning round it because my wife's already telling me my time is running low.
Yep.
And I'm sure y'all are getting similar looks.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm gonna get one real soon. So.
Okay. So Undertaker versus Stone Cold. I don't feel good about this.
I don't
feel good
either,
about it
but give me Taker.
Yeah,
Give me Taker.
Give me Taker.
It's a guilty Taker vote.
Yeah. Yep. It's a guilty Taker vote. Give me
I don't
Taker.
like it. I don't feel good about it. But Taker.
Yeah, I don't like it one bit, but give me Taker.
This will feel. All right. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
God damn.
No, Lord.
Wait, the internet's gonna hate us now.
Oh no. Oh no.
Shit.
We did this to ourselves.
We did. We
Wow.
did.
Wow. Oh.
Brett.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to say
Brett.
oh, you came up with that way faster than I was prepared to say mine.
Ooh.
I'm gonna have to say Brett. It's just because he's just Shawn Michaels is still influential today, but like Bret Hart is one of the greatest to ever do it in the ring.
Brett. It's over. I'm picking Brett. Picking Brett. Sticking with it. So it's over. 2 out of 3 of us voted Brett. I
Anthony,
really don't feel good about that one.
Who were you going, Sean?
You were going with
Give me
Sean.
HBK.
Okay. Brett won. I don't feel good about that one.
On any given day, man. On any given day.
I don't know. I don't know about that, man.
That one might come back to haunt me later.
I don't know about that. I'm saying HBK. I don't agree with the Brett, but that's a tough situation.
That's what we did.
Move
That's what
on.
we voted. The next one. Ric Flair versus The Rock.
Oh no,
oof.
The Rock.
Oh.
The Rock.
Ric Flair.
Oh, don't do this to me. Split.
I can't.
Don't do this to me. God.
You're the tiebreaker.
Give me Rick.
Ric Flair moves on. I really don't feel good about that one.
I don't feel good about that one.
This tournament has turned into a bloodbath. Because it's Kane versus William Regal next.
Oh Lord.
Give me Kane.
Give me Kane.
Kane might have the easiest path to the finals now. No, he doesn't. Because let's see. Because now we're down. Now we're down to the final four. Final four is Undertaker, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, and Kane. So it's Undertaker versus Bret.
Taker.
Taker.
I can't. I just.
Dude, what did we do? Where did we go wrong? Because why these matchups so complicated?
I told you it's gonna get real hard real fast.
Where did we go
This is the classic
wrong?
too.
This is I don't feel good about it, but I gotta take Taker.
All right, Ric Flair versus Kane. I think Kane's out now.
It's got to be Rick. Yeah, I'm saying Rick.
As much as I love Kane,
because it could have been Kane versus Undertaker.
Yeah,
but Rick versus Undertaker makes the most sense out of everybody on this bracket to me.
All right, so the final matchup is going to be Undertaker versus Ric Flair. Final for the day.
Give me Mr. Mark Calloway.
Desmond, who's your vote?
Rick's got to rest in peace, bro.
Undertaker wins for the day. All right, guys, I actually got to go.
All right, brother.
So
let's just sign off real quick.
Sign off, and then we'll go, and then we'll head out.
All right, everyone. If you stick to the end of this, thank you for watching and/or listening. We will be back. When do we want to do this again? Next week.
Next week.
Let's just make it a weekly thing.
Yeah.
So we'll be back next week. Probably have this up by Tuesday at the very latest. I want to try to work on it today, but Tuesday at the very latest. Monday, hopefully. We'll be back whenever we with more stuff, more brackets, more news, and hopefully more time to really dive into this stuff.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.